welcome back to another edition of the Buckball Podcast. I'm here again with football icon Jamison Lee.
The icon.
Yeah, the icon. I know you guys haven't heard about him in the Hall of Fame or anything because he's not actually a football icon. It's just my silly number one fan mother who heard I did a podcast with a friend who actually played football, and she thought you were an NFL player, and so she called me and she was like, "Oh, football icon." And I was like, "Mom, just a friend from high school. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from what he did, football accomplishments.
Just let me live the dream, all right? Just let me live my dream."
Yeah, Jameson's phone's blown up now.
Just
Like,
let me be
interview,
great.
yeah. Okay, anyways, man. But anyways, this is the off season, so obviously there's not much to talk about. We're all fiending for football, pretty much grasping at straws for every little story, and half these stories probably wouldn't even be brought up if there was real football to talk about. So, anyways, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go a little deeper into last off season, look at some more stats, get everything from a bigger picture, and we'll just start from there and see where it goes. But one thing that I was noticing is even as bad as the offense was last year, even with Jameis being hurt, the horrible running game, O-line was playing really inconsistent, everything, we were still the number 7 offense in the league in terms of like total yards. Now, the red zone, we were 25th in the league, and when you think about that, being the number 7 offense and 25th in the red zone, like how do you think that happens?
Well, last year, if you go back and watch some of the games, a lot of the yardage the offense got was on chunk plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what Jameis does.
Yep.
He runs around and makes you say, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
Like just go down or throw the ball.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, no. Then you're like, okay, good play.
He runs in circles for like 30 seconds and then chunks it up to Mike Evans for like 60 yards.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of chunk plays.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that attributed to a lot of that yardage. But I mean, just generally with that comes Jameis' bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we had some bad decisions in the red zone. The offensive line wasn't playing well. So when you get into limited space and the defense is stacking the box, you're within 15 yards of the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have as much space to work with. It's kind of hard to get
Right.
Mike Evans one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And get some of those big plays. But when you're in the red zone, you got to be able to run the ball. Like if you're not a threat to run the ball, you're probably not going to score many touchdowns from close.
Yeah, because that's a really small field.
It's
it
a
shrinks.
really tight space.
Yeah.
I mean, they're stacking the box already. And your offensive
Yeah,
line's not good.
they don't even have to hardly play zone because everything could be just so tight.
Yeah, I mean, and the Bucs really couldn't. There was definitely games where they just absolutely could not line up and run the ball to middle. I mean, Jacquizz Rodgers, he's not really going to power you in the end zone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that with the addition of the running back in the draft and the addition of the offensive line pieces, I think that'll naturally get better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really do think the offensive line, barring injuries, because it seems to happen in the Bucs every year.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that that's going to definitely improve that red zone. I like to see him go to the tight end more in the red zone. I mean, you got 2 freaking 6'5" tight ends. I mean, I'm sure OJ will be more involved in the offense this year,
Mm-hmm.
given it's the second season. He's more familiar with offense, So 2 tight end sets. I expect to see some of that stuff. But I think can naturally get better just with offensive line play and a run game threat for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true, man. And a lot of it's play design. And even Dirk Cutter himself came out and said, you guys can go back and watch the film. We called a lot of the right plays in the red zone, but we end up taking a sack. We end up making a penalty or something, something of the sort, or we get stuffed or whatever like that. But I mean, if you got a 6'5" Mike Evans and a 6'6" OJ Howard, and I mean that doesn't mean you always have to throw a big fade route and just play 50-50 ball. You can get creative down there. That's what most teams do. But one thing I wanted to look at here was I started looking at our offense as, how we were talking about in chunk plays. So it wasn't a lot of the yards after catch, like explosives, like Dirk Cutter always talks about. He likes explosive plays. Well, when you think about explosive plays, you're thinking about someone catching the ball for 5-6 yards and taking it 40, right?
Which is what Deshaun Jackson should be doing.
Instead
of running fly route every play.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can. There isn't a rule that you can't run the outside receivers on a drag or a slant. That hasn't been implemented, so you can't do that. So I was looking, and I was doing some research, and I had to go and add up every single player's yards after catch, like with the top, I think it was like 5 or 6. And so the top is the Steelers. They had 2,145 yards after the catch. Patriots, they had 2,316 yards after the catch. The Saints had 2,401, and the LA Rams had 2,154. Now, what do all those teams have in common? They got a running back that is very part of the passing game. Now, what did the Bucs end up with? 1,667, which means a lot of these catches are designed to move chains and not flip the field position. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, naturally, just when your running back is not really. I mean, last year a lot of times. I mean, Peyton Barber grinding out yards.
Yeah,
but
we have grinders. That's what we have is grinders.
We're grinding out, but nobody's a home run threat there. You know, nobody's catching passes out of the backfield and really breaking any tackles there. So
no, yep. So, and anyways, like I was saying, this being the off season, you start seeing all these crazy stories, and even if there was real football going on, you probably just scroll right past them. But I seen one today, and they were talking about CBS Sports said that the Bucs should try to trade Deshaun Jackson, and I was thinking, like, why? Why would you trade him? Like, his production was down. He only had 50 catches for 680 yards, and you got Chris Godwin, who's waiting in the wing, who had 30 catches for 500. So it was like, you're getting the same production from a younger guy for cheap, and it's like, look, it's not Deshaun Jackson's fault, like you were saying. You can get him in open space, and then on top of that, Jameis Winston throwing to Mike Evans. His first year, he was not hitting on the deep ball. The second year, he got the chemistry and he started hitting. So I'm looking for something like that to happen with Deshaun Jackson again.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, it's not. But I think that I don't think they should necessarily go seeking a trade for Deshaun Jackson. If you got the right price for him, I mean, sure. But nobody's come knocking down the door for Deshaun Jackson at this point in his career.
No, he's gonna be 33 by the time 32 by the time he ends up outliving his contract next year. So I mean, who knows if he's gonna get another 3-year deal from anywhere.
No, but I could definitely see him and Jameis having a little better chemistry this year.
But they need to. But it's also the running game, man. This is one of the things it's going to be a long off season, and you're going to sit here and keep talking about it. But eventually, there's going to be nothing else to talk about, and that's pretty much what it is. Just the running game and the O-line. Can they get going? Like in 2015, we had the number 5 offense in the league. We were scoring points, and honestly, they weren't bad. In the second year, you could say they fell off because of injuries and whatever you want. They took a step back, but it's Doug Martin and Charles Sims. Doug Martin was getting 500 yards a season. Our leading rusher last season didn't even have hardly over 500. That's not a recipe for success.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
And especially not for a team like the Detroit Lions. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher in like 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and if you think back, maybe because they had Reggie Bush a couple years back, whatever. Yep. They had a decent year for him, but if you just look across the league, the teams that can't run the ball consistently don't make the playoffs.
Nope, they don't. So. And especially if you can't at least put up the points. If your defense is giving up 28, you got to be able to at least put up 28. If you're only putting up 21 points a game, your defense is giving up 28 over an average. What do you expect? You're not controlling the clock. You're not doing anything like that. So let's get into our team-by-team preview of our division, which I think is the best division in football. That's honestly what I believe it is. Here's the Falcons depth chart right here if you want to look at it. I've already breezed through it quite a bit.
Just off the top, you look at the Falcons, what they did, the Falcons, a Super Bowl team, they got...
Who went 8-8 the year before.
Right. Who went 8-8 the year before, went to the Super Bowl, then got to the draft, they got Julio Jones, they go add Calvin Ridley, who, in my personal opinion, if he's used the correct way, could be the best receiver.
Oh man, smooth route runner, really smooth route runner.
I mean, really kind of reminds me of Amari Cooper, but probably a little bit more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that offense is just kind of looking scary.
Yeah, it's going to be if Sarkisian could get it going. Because you got to think, whenever they started off, they were, I think, 5-0 in that 2015 season. They started off 5-0. Kyle Shanahan was still running that offense. It was the same offense as it was in 2016 when they won the Super Bowl. So it took them just some time to start clicking. Everybody act like Matt Ryan's this elite quarterback. But, he has got him to the playoffs. He's had a really good cast of players around him. But once that play caller got in there and everything was, sinking, like you think about yards after catch and explosive plays, you think about that Atlanta offense. I mean, that was one of the most explosive ones that we've ever seen. And, if they can get back to that, they should still contend for the number one spot in this division. But, I mean, you got to think the Panthers, or the Falcons only barely lost in the playoffs to the Eagles. I mean, they were one Julio Jones slip away.
There.
Yeah, they were one Julio Jones slip away from, getting a touchdown. So, anyways, the overview here, I mean, I just take some notes on the team as I see it. And their cornerback group hasn't had over 3 interceptions, but, I mean, they're really sneaky good. Desmond Trufant's still a fast cover corner. I mean, it's not as much man-to-man, but they did draft Isaiah Oliver in the second round. So you're going to pair him with Robert Alford, Desmond Trufant. And Isaiah Oliver, obviously, who knows if he gets in the rotation at all.
Keanu Neal is real solid back there.
Yeah, Keanu Neal. The third round, Deidrin Senat from South Florida Bulls. I thought that was actually a pretty good pick.
Yeah. He was kind of under the radar guy a little bit. I mean, just because of kind of how his career was at South Florida. I mean, he had a good career. I mean, he had a strong senior season, but I mean, he had a couple injuries, and he just kind of. I mean, if you don't really watch football, like not a lot of people sit down and watch USF football.
No, they don't. Yeah.
But I sat down and watched one of their games last year. I think they were playing. Who were they playing? It was like Louisiana Tech or somebody like that. Or like a Thursday night. Or Temple. It was Temple, actually. I sat down and watched the whole game and watched that guy. And I was like, dang. Like, who is this guy? This guy is freaking massive.
Yeah, and they got him in the third round. And you got to think also they just lost Antari Poe.
Yeah. So that was a good piece to just kind of like slide right in there with losing Poe. But they're definitely going to be solid. I mean, they're, to me, the favorite to win the division just off top, just passing the eye test.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in the NFC South.
Yeah, anything goes, man.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. Like, we've been to 4 Super Bowls in the past, 19 years? So, I mean, what division can say that?
Yeah.
Now, I don't like that stat because I don't want it to be anybody else but us. But, I mean, I can be proud of one thing. So, another note I took down here, I was, looking at Tack McKinley. And he had 6 sacks, and he played in 16 games, but he didn't start in 1. So, he was just a rotational guy and got 6 sacks. Grady Jarrett, really solid interior lineman. This is a funny thing. This guy, Brooks Reed, I actually, because I've been playing Madden, and he ruined my franchise because I lost to the Falcons because this Brooks Reed guy.
I have always been a Brooks Reed fan ever since I've seen him.
Well, he's never had more than 6 sacks, and that was in his rookie year in 2011. He sacked me 3 times in Madden. He's the reason why I missed the playoffs. And guess how many sacks this dude had towards the end of the season? 18 sacks in Madden. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, J.J. Watt? Like, what is Madden doing? I'm going to look at his rating. His rating's not even that serious. It's like, damn. So, who knows, man? Maybe Brooks Reed's due for a breakout year. I don't know.
He's got the Clay Matthews hair going on.
Yeah, he does, man. Then you got Vic Beasley. He led the league in sacks, or close to it. And I believe it was 2016. It was a Super Bowl year.
Yeah,
and a lot of
year.
And a lot of those sacks came from his hand being on the ground, and I thought that was pretty impressive because I thought he was more of a stand-up linebacker.
I mean, that's what he did in college at Clemson. I mean, he lined up with his hand on the ground, defensive end, pretty much every play. And just got after it. He was just quicker than guys in college, and he's got. If you look at that guy's body, like no homo. but
yeah,
this guy's jacked. Like, he's cut up, he's quick, and man, really good defense fan. I was glad when he graduated from Clemson, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm glad he did, but Clemson's D line this year isn't looking promising. It's like can't y'all just all go to the draft and just rotate? I don't know what it is about Clemson, man. They just rotate D linemen in like nobody's business.
I know, and everybody else's guys go to the draft, but these guys want to stay in Clemson, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand it.
Maybe it's the white girls.
Snow bunnies.
Dad was lining them up.
Okay, so just look at a little stat shot here. This is last year. They were number 15 in points per game with 21.6. And if you look at their points per game in 2016, which is 34.1, that was a crazy drop in production. They had a number 2 overall offense in 2016 with 416 yards a game to number 11 with 356 this year. So really, they weren't losing that much yardage. It was the scoring. And like we said earlier, that was all with play design and things like that. And surprisingly, they had the number 27th overall defense in 2016, giving up 376 yards a game. That's a lot of yards. So, but their scoring total was way better. And surprisingly, they jumped up to number 8th with 320 yards a game in 2017. So you're not holding to that much more of a difference. I mean, if you look at just, you could say that number 10 and number 20 aren't really that far off. But I mean, they were 10-6 and still in the playoffs and beat the Rams. So I'm not saying that the Bucs can't do it. And I even said last year, I don't know if 10-6 even gets us into the playoffs. And 2 teams end up being 10-6 in their own division and going. So that was pretty strange to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, you never know. In the NFC South, you never know if 10-6 is going to get you there.
Mm-mm.
You never know. So I mean,
yeah, this isn't the.
I think last year was probably the exception to.
Yeah, this isn't the NFC West where you can go to the playoffs to 7-9.
Yeah, but I was surprised when they beat the Rams because the Rams were like my team.
Oh yeah.
Last year, I was like, dude, this team's going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Sean McVay to me is like Gruden, except for without like the snotty attitude. You know, like the real snarky, like.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, he's a great player. I love this guy, and cut the next day. He's here for the future. It's like released. It's like, okay, well, I thought you were talking so good about him yesterday. Mixed signals. Yeah, I love Sean McVay though. Yeah, but I mean, overall, dude, I can't never count the Falcons with Matt Ryan, especially since Julio is still balling out, and you know Devontae Freeman, shout out FSU, proved all the haters wrong. Did he win the 3rd round or the 4th round?
He went in the 3rd round.
I think he went in the third round. Yeah, good job, Bucks.
I think early. Oh God, yeah. I think he was early 3rd. But yeah, man, him, and then Tevin Coleman's such a good like compliment to him. It always seems like if one of them is down, the other one just steps in and they don't really miss a beat.
Yeah, this was another player I wanted to mention. This guy was Ito Smith, the running back for Southern Miss. I don't know if you know anything about him or watch too much about him. He's a really small dude. But if you go on draftbreakdown.com, and also I watched him play against Florida State in the bowl game because we were bowl eligible, not because of a technicality. It's because we were actually bowl eligible. He holds his own against tougher competition, and he's only a 4th round guy. And like I said, he's kind of small, but if something happens to Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, I think they can plug that guy in and he can still do some damage. He's more of a smaller Darren Sproles kind of guy. He's pretty short. But he was one of the guys that I was looking at if the Bucs could get him in the later rounds, like Akron Wadley or him or, whoever. But, yeah, the Falcons overall, I don't think that they lost too much. And I think they probably still got another 2 to 3 years before they have to start paying people and making tough decisions. So they're obviously here to stay.
Yeah, Falcons are definitely up there. Moving on to the Panthers, I'm just waiting on the Panthers to actually put it together. It's like they got the pieces, they got talent. I mean, sometimes you don't really know which Cam Newton you're going to get.
Right.
But, they added C.J. Anderson, which is, he's not great, but it's a solid addition to that backfield with what it is. Christian McCaffrey's super talented, but more of a pass-catching guy. He can take some handoffs, but you're not going to give him 15, 20 carries a game.
Nope.
And the rest of those guys are smaller guys. Cameron Artis-Payne, Kendall Barner. I mean, pretty small pass catcher running backs, real quick. So C.J. Anderson can carve out a nice role for them this year if he can stay healthy. C.J. Anderson, I personally hate him because I traded him this year in fantasy and he kind of like blew up a couple weeks.
You know who had in fantasy, man? I looked up. So this is my first year ever playing fantasy. We're gonna get back to the fantasy in a second, but this is my first year ever playing fantasy, and I ended up with my quarterbacks were Drew Brees and Big Ben. Not bad, right? I had Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram both, so they had 3,000 yards together. I had Julio. I picked up Juju Smith-Schuster, Martavis Bryant. Who else did I have? My tight ends never did good. Travis Kelce never did good, and I think my defenses were okay. So, anyways,
Travis Kelce always got like 25 points or 0 points.
Yeah, there was no like
2 touchdowns. Didn't get
like, come on, I just need 3 points from this week, Travis. I know he wasn't doing it. He was better off. He's probably making his TV show or something. But anyways, so the game where the Bucs played the Falcons, and I believe it was a Sunday night game. And Pat Murray missed that field goal at the end. It was like a 50-yarder or 52-yarder. I was up by 0.3 points to win the fantasy football. He missed that kick, and it knocked me back 0.3. So I lost the whole fantasy football with that roster by 0.3 points. So I'm also not happy with Pat Murray anymore neither. Not anything that he's done as a person. It's just he kind of lost me $180.
Yeah,
so
I don't really like any Bucs kicker, to be honest with you.
Well, we got that Catanzaro fella who everybody says wanted to get out of New York because of the weather and the wind and blah, blah, blah.
He was pretty good. I feel like.
But he came from the Cardinals. No, but I don't know. I think he came from the Cardinals too, though, right?
Clemson. He's got a strong leg. But for some reason, it's like he was like super good in college. I'm pretty sure he might have won Lou Groza. I'm not positive on that, but he was definitely a finalist. And then
was he better than Roberto Aguayo?
I don't want to talk about Roberto Aguayo. And then he came into the league and like he's just kind of bounced around. Like he's had his good times, but
Roberto Automatico.
Gosh.
Okay. Sorry, we had a break from production. There's babies running around.
But it's like, okay, I don't understand the Panthers have Cam Newton, who by all means is kind of he throws, but he's gonna run the ball too. He's gonna take some chances. He's gonna take some hits, and their backup quarterback is Garrett Gilbert. And
Texas Longhorn great.
Garrett Gilbert from the Texas Alabama National Championship 2009.
Yeah.
Probably the worst college quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
And what a game to get thrown into. I felt so bad for Colt McCoy, man. Oh, I felt so bad for Colt McCoy when he got hit in that shoulder. Oh.
I remember watching that game, and I wanted Texas to win so bad.
And that was Mark Ingram's Heisman year, right?
Yeah. I wanted Texas to win so bad, and then Garrett Gilbert just came out there, and I feel like I could.
Well, I know what happened to Colt. I know what happened to Colt McCoy. It wasn't the Alabama defenders that was hitting him. It was him getting hit 20 times by Ndamukong Suh the week before. Like his arm was already messed up. They just gave it one little nudge, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Garrett Gilbert did end up going to SMU his senior year and actually looking like a decent quarterback. But I don't know what the Panthers are doing, honestly.
Well, I think Cam Newton's never been that quarterback, to where he's threading the needle over a linebacker in between a safety. It's more the runs, set up, the pass plays. As far as getting people in space and things like that. So I think adding all these guys in the backfield and kind of making all the running backs as much of the passing game as let's say DJ Moore and all these other guys are. I mean, that's really the recipe to get Cam going. I mean, because other than that, he's just not a finesse quarterback. He's got a damn rocket. I mean, like them 8 routes, inside out routes, he can hit them on the money, no problem. But yeah, it's just I understand what they're doing. You know, they're trying to keep everything from like the line, like 10, 15 yards in front of him.
Yeah, but then I mean they got some speed out there, receiver. Torrey Smith is.
Yeah, he's still a burner, man.
He's had some down years, but I mean he's still got speed. I mean he's not gonna catch like 8 touchdowns or 10 touchdowns, but I mean he'll get free and break a play loose, get behind the safeties. You get him cheating up. I mean, you get him one-on-one coverage. DJ Moore, I really like him. I mean, anybody who gets Steve Smith's approval, I mean,
right?
That's the real deal. So
yep, that's who when I was watching him, that's who I was saying he was. I was saying that he was Steve Smith.
So I mean, other than that, I mean,
so
I don't expect the Panthers to really make a lot of noise. I mean, they did add Datari Poe on defense, a 50-year-old Julius Peppers. He's still out there doing it, but
yeah, I think he had 11 sacks last year.
Yeah, I mean he's out there doing it, dude.
If he would have had 11 sacks, if he would have come to the Bucs and had 11 sacks, we would have named a highway after him.
He seems like he's been in the NFL literally forever. Like I remember being
like I remember watching Julius Peppers sacking Joe Montana.
I was in like elementary school playing Madden, like trading Julius Peppers for my team because I wanted my team. But I mean, their defense is solid. I mean, secondary isn't like special, but like front seven is real good.
Yeah, Thomas Davis still playing. See, this is the thing for me is like that MVP season for Cam. Like the thing about that season was, it wasn't just some magical breakthrough. It just seemed like they were playing with like such confidence that nobody could beat us. You remember they had Josh Norman, real chatty on that side of the ball. You had Cam Newton, he's dancing, he's doing his thing. Just shutting the Bucs down week in, week out. You know, it was great. And I think that's what it was, man. He had that one good season, and after that Super Bowl, I know that loss hurt because I know they felt that they could have done more.
Yeah, when they traded Kelvin Benjamin, I was just kind of like,
Did you see that training camp picture of him? Like when he reported to training camp last year.
Oh, he was like 200.
Oh, dude, he was huge. Like his jersey was like, bro, like. They put your jersey in the wash machine too many times? Like, is that the only one they got? So, anyways, man, like, but you got to think, Luke Kuechly, dude, he's got to be the best coverage and run stuffing linebacker in the league. I mean, I think you would agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the man. I mean, their linebackers are pretty dang good. Thomas Davis is a stud in himself. They got Shaq Green Thompson on that other side. I mean, he's definitely solid. They got solid ends. I mean, overall, the Panthers have been tough against the run for really, past couple of years. So
yeah,
nothing's really changing there. But just I don't know.
Yes.
Offensively, it's kind of not going to be like wait and see.
Yeah, I went to that first game that we played against the Panthers, and it was really, really windy. And I think this was the week or a couple weeks after Jameis Winston's shoulder. Which I was thinking about selling my tickets because I was like, man, I don't even want to put myself through this. But I was like, I'm going to go ahead and go. And that was a game we lost 17-3. And Jameis Winston looked god-awful, man. It was probably one of the worst Bucs games I've ever been to. It was just brutal, man. I know the wind had something to do with it. But, I mean, that doesn't mean you keep throwing with the wind whipping like that. Because the wind was pretty strong. But I still think that his arm was not nowhere close to 100% that game. Doug Martin was actually having a really good game. I mean, he would make people miss. He was finding the holes. I don't know what happened later on in the season, but that game was pretty close. I actually went and watched the second game on Game Pass. I watched the All 22. It took me about 3 hours to get through the whole thing. I was taking notes and everything. It's crazy. It's crazy to think how bad the Bucs are as a whole, and just sit there and watch the whole game and just see how close they are to actually breaking off all these big plays. And we could have easily been up by 2 touchdowns. Easy. So when you start thinking about stuff like that, man, it kind of calms you down as a fan. Like, I encourage all fans to do that. If you got it, if you get NFL Game Pass, just go sit back and watch it. You can watch the whole game, the condensed game. You can watch the All 22 if you really want to get into it. But it really puts it into a perspective on how close the team really, really is.
Yeah. I mean, they're right there. It's just like, Derek Cutter always says it's the little things. Mm-hmm. So
you never know, man. There's these teams that have that one magical season where everything just clicks.
So, and especially when you're that close and you don't have a kicker, you're gonna lose games that you should have won.
Mm-hmm.
You're hanging around, and then you miss 2 field goals in the second half, and you lose by 6 or 3.
Yeah, I watched.
And if you can't make field goals in the NFL, you're gonna lose most of your close games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they have no idea how important a kicker is. Kickers, because really, the NFL is really close in all aspects. I mean, not every game is somebody winning by 2 touchdowns or more. All games come down pretty close. But anyway, moving on to the Saints. Yeah, we haven't swept them in forever. We can't never look as good as we like. We can beat them, either the first game or the second game. We can't never beat them twice. I don't understand why, and it's not always like we can beat them once and it'll be close, and then we'll lose to them by like 20 or 30 points the next game. It's like they completely just figure us out. But also we have to look forward to the Mark Ingram 4-game suspension. Which looks like it is going to happen. I think he already tried to appeal it, and he didn't get anything. He didn't get him to change it. I think Alvin Kamara can carry the workload. I honestly do. I don't think they'll drop off that much for 4 games.
No, Ingram, he doesn't really do anything special with the ball. He pretty much. Their offensive line has definitely gotten better within the last 2 years, and to me, if you're just looking at straight talent, Kamara's the more talented guy.
Right.
So they're not going to miss Ingram.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? They're splitting carries last year, and he's still going off. So, if anything, I think they could probably be better.
Yeah.
Giving Kamara more carries.
Yeah, and what's going to suck about that for Mark Ingram is, he hasn't been the most amazing running back since he's been in the league. He really has had a couple really okay seasons, and when Alvin Kamara got here, he really, really went off this season. And I think that was more towards, kind of having somebody to take the focus off just him, because like you said, he is kind of a one-trick pony. Now, don't get me wrong, he made some really good runs this year. He's like a bowling ball. I don't think he's ever Heisman Trophy. I don't think he was I don't know, man. Like him and Derrick Henry, the Heisman Trophy is like, you had Christian McCaffrey, who broke Barry Sanders' all-time college football all-purpose yards record, and because he's on the West Coast, he doesn't get seen as much. And Alabama's on TV every single night. But anyways, drifting off from that, they won the division in the best division in football. Their linebackers, nobody is scared of the linebackers. I don't think anybody's game planned him for Manti Te'o.
No, they got weak side. They got AJ Klein, which is a solid linebacker from Kansas State. I really liked him in college. Alex Anzalone,
Gator.
He's Gator.
Yeah.
Personally like him.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player, but he's more of a run stopping guy. Their defense. They're not going to scare anybody. Cameron Jordan's going to do his thing at defensive end and get some sacks, but.
You got to think about that. The 2 first-round pick, Marcus Davenport, they threw in there. You got to think about him.
I'm just not super crazy about Marcus Davenport, to be honest with you.
Come on, man. He was destroying people at UTSA, dude.
3rd and freaking 15 when they line him up to just go after the passer, sure, but. He just doesn't really scare me.
What if like South Carolina, Jadeveon Clowney played for UTSA? You think he would have got 30 sacks?
He probably would have killed someone.
He's probably been banned from the conference.
But their secondary, they got talent in the secondary.
Yep.
Last year, they started off rocky, and then they kind of overachieved and looked really good. Marshawn Lattimore, P.J. Williams.
Home run.
Yeah. Patrick Robinson still doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. I think he just came from the Eagles, right? Just fresh off that Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. Von Bell in there at safety, he's pretty solid. So they've got some talent spots on defense. Depth is not very good, but the Saints are going to be the Saints. They're going to outscore you. They're not going to shut you down.
Yep.
So offense is going to look good again. They got pretty much all the main pieces coming back. Benjamin Watson at tight end is, he's going to catch the ball, but I mean,
I think the Saints offense is like the Patriots offense. It just goes no matter what personnel you have.
Right.
Most of the time.
Since Jimmy Graham, since they traded Jimmy Graham, which I still don't understand. They kind of went away from the tight end a little bit, but with the receivers they got, Drew Brees is going to be Drew Brees. I guess until he's 59, because he's turning 40 this season, and I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. This could be his last ride. So.
Yeah. Also, you got to think about the safety, Marcus Williams, having to live down the Minnesota Miracle. One of the worst, craziest plays I've ever seen in the playoff. Like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't understand how the dude's catching the ball right in front of you, and you do a full-on tackle every single game, but this guy's in the air and you don't take a shot at him. You kind of just like going for his ankle. I don't even know what he was thinking, but he felt horrible when he hit the ground and he turned around and Stephon Diggs is just running to the end zone. And you know that you're gonna
Everybody's gonna remember where they were at. When they lost that play.
And you're gonna be a meme, and they're gonna make funny videos about you.
God, the internet's undefeated.
Oh, the internet is so undefeated. Oh my god. I give it up to these pro athletes, dude, because they put themselves on the spot, and especially like J.R. Smith the other night. It's like when you make a mistake like that. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it in real time. But J.R. Smith is going to be J.R. Smith, so if you want him on your team, he pretty much looks like he is inebriated at all times.
He's like anything's possible.
I like that meme where he's running away with the ball and they show him running into the liquor store.
Yeah. There's another one with a little kid. He gets the rebound and the dude's just like spotting him up all the way down the thing. And it goes to another video. The kid's in the mall. He's still spotting him up. And there's another video. He's running down the interstate.
Oh my God, J.R. Smith.
Yeah, you know what's the funny thing?
Yeah, LeBron, you chose that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're the GM of LeBron. And also, I think Tyronn Lue said they had another timeout still.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Well, that's Tyronn Lue's fault because coach was supposed to call timeout.
Well, the rollover timeout, so you can take him into the next game. That's what he was saving it for.
Yeah, LeBron. Side note, LeBron's pretty much threw in the towel on that team. So this series ain't going longer than 5 games.
No.
Just saying.
No. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Marshawn Lattimore because I wrote this down here. I think one of the most more overrated things. Obviously it's important for a defensive back to get interceptions, changing the game and switching the field and everything like that. But there's something to me that is a more important stat, and that's pass deflections. Being on your guy at all times during coverage, if you get your hand on the ball the majority of the time, that quarterback's going to stop throwing that ball that way. And he had 18 pass deflections and 5 interceptions as a rookie. One of the interceptions he caught with his ass, but that's neither here nor there. But
hey, crazy stuff happens in New Orleans.
Yep.
You ever been to Bourbon Street?
I haven't. I want to go.
You might have seen somebody catch something with their ass.
So let's see.
Too far down Bourbon Street.
So obviously they took Davenport in the first round. Third round, Traquan Smith, wide receiver from UCF. I wasn't on top of the draft as much this year as I was the last year, the year before that, because we had so many holes. So I was watching as much film as I could on every player to kind of be prepared. But this year I didn't hardly watch any wide receivers or anything like that, so I can't really say anything about Traquan Smith. A lot of scouts love him and stuff like that. But it's still got Michael Thomas.
Ted Ginn.
Ted Ginn's a burner. Cameron Meredith.
He's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Coleman, solid. Tommy Lee Lewis made some plays for him. I don't know if you remember him. He played for Northern Illinois when they played Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Super small guy, tiny guy, 5'8", 100-something pounds.
No, I don't remember him.
He is fast, super fast. He didn't make a lot of plays.
That's what the Saints need. Another fast player.
Yeah, he's the 5th wide receiver for the Saints, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he's quick. So.
But if you're the 5th wide receiver on the Saints, you're still going to get 30, 40 balls because they just pass the ball around so much.
Yeah, he's getting burned.
But the rest of these guys, from the 5th, 6th, all the way to 7th, I don't recognize any names. Natrell, Jamison, safety, Cameron Moore, cornerback. Boston Scott, running back. Will Clapp, offensive guard. So, I mean, I don't really have too much input on them guys.
I mean, some of these guys are going to end up.
Yeah, they're not going to be there. They might end up being a reserve.
Yeah, camp bodies. I mean, they did. I don't really know what their plan is for. I mean, maybe they bring in JT Barrett in for a camp arm, but I was never a big fan of him at Ohio State.
No. I think
every time they brought his name up and mentioned Heisman in the same.
Yeah, I think JT Barrett went to school there for 15 years too. I'm pretty sure that he wasn't a student anymore. There's no way that I just remember him being there for like 7 years. It feels like I feel like he was also like the math teacher, but also played quarterback because I don't even understand.
Yeah, he's been a Heisman finalist in the middle of the season for like the last 6 years in a row. So and then he played a decent defense and they lost. But.
Yeah, the one thing I am excited about this year is I think we actually do have a formidable defensive line who can actually put pressure on Breeze because that is the same game plan every single week that everybody always says, but you can never do it. Like, you got to get Breeze on the ground. You got to get him on the ground. But he gets the ball off in, like, less than 2 seconds almost every single play. So, that's one of the things I'm most fascinated in the beginning of the season is, we played in the first game. If we can get him shook up the first game and start the season off on some momentum, that's going to be just great. I mean, if we can sack Drew Brees twice, I might do a backflip.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get him on the ground. But just get in his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Make him nervous, man. Because he likes to climb that pocket, dude.
He's a timing guy. So make him scramble a little bit. Make him kind of move around. Because when the Bucs don't have a pass rush, Drew Brees literally just picks them apart.
Yeah, and when you don't have a pass rush, Mike Smith, you don't play 10 yards off the ball neither.
Yeah, I'm going to play 10 yards off the ball and we're just going to rush forward and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing I don't like is Levante David and Quan Alexander not having any sacks. I think your linebackers should attribute at least 3 or 4 sacks. Especially Levante. I mean, if you got 4 legit defensive linemen who can eat up one person, you got to be able to free up and get Levante in there.
I would love to see Levante David on one end and Noah Spence on the other end on third down. Get him rushing on that outside.
NASCAR.
I feel like he can make some plays.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not an NFL coach, so what do I know? But I am a football icon, so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, before I even walked in Jamison's house today, I had to kiss his ring to even walk in the door.
Kiss the ring, bitch.
Oh man. Yeah. So I was at work today. This is pretty much done with the team by team thing, but we're going to talk a little bit. I was at work today, and we're Florida State fans, and I'm surrounded by Gators and Miami Hurricanes in there, and they were just sitting there talking trash to me, man. And I was like, look, dude, you guys have lost all your bragging rights, all right? Like, from now on, you're not even a Florida Gator, like, because nobody's scared of you. You're the Florida Lizards from now on. And when you start winning, you can get your name back, okay? You can get your mascot back. And this Miami Hurricane fan starts talking to me. And I was like, you know what? And matter of fact, you're not even the Miami Hurricanes. Like, you're a Miami, like, slight chance of rain. Or the Miami tropical storms. And just because you beat us one time last year, that doesn't mean that, you're back on top. I mean, you got to do it for 2 or 3 years before you can say that you're back to anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen more Miami Hurricane shirts faded with holes in them out in the streets in the past 6 months than I think I've seen in 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's bringing
time to break these bad boys out.
Time to break out this shirt I got for Christmas in 2000.
Check it out. Just found my Michael Irvin jersey. Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to play them again this year. I cannot
wait
for that.
I am so ready for football, dude. I mean, I feel like I don't care if I'm watching the 4th-string quarterback play all reserve defense. I don't care. I just need to watch something. Like, I'm almost to a point where I'm going to watch Johnny Manziel in the CFL.
I'm almost getting there. I do want to look into that. I haven't watched his highlights from his first game action, but
how many teams do they have?
I'm not even sure on the exact number.
I think I only know one. The Alouettes or
I have what the blue team, right? Is that the team
I think so.
James Water plays for?
I think so. I'm not sure.
I watched a little bit. Like I watched a couple games when Chris Rainey was playing for the BC Lions on TV. I watched a little bit, just here and there, because I mean, once basketball's over, there's only baseball to watch, and baseball's pretty boring. So.
Yeah, I'd rather watch the World Series of Poker in Spanish. I can't. I don't know. I hated.
I'd rather watch Trick Shot Magic pool on ESPN.
Yeah, like what is it? What's that show they watched on ESPN 8, the Ocho?
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
He's like a baby tossing or something. I'd rather watch that. No, for real. I don't like to knock anybody's preference on their sport, because I mean, I feel like I'm a nerd when it comes to football, but I don't see how people watch baseball. Being there is fine. I can be there. Like I went to New York and I actually watched the Yankees game in person. It wasn't that bad, but I have no idea how you can just sit down and just watch baseball. It's just horrible.
No, in the off season, that's pretty much the time when you play Madden, and I'm still playing NCAA 14. So
yeah, so I just beat the Saints by 40 points. Why can't y'all do it?
Yeah, I mean, I usually pass the time by going back and watching old tape, watching old games, whatever. And
just trying to keep my eyes fresh.
Keep my eyes fresh, passing time, but it's getting to that point. It's getting to that point where you're just like, man.
Yeah.
Is football season yet?
Just give me something.
Yeah.
Because once the final's over, we're through.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's gonna do it, guys, for the latest edition of the Buckball Podcast. Don't forget to send us some comments and questions on Twitter, iTunes, SoundCloud. Let us know what we can do and improve on. And we're out.